Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss questions from hypothesis testing. But before that, let me give you a small recap. See, what is hypothesis testing? Hypothesis testing is used to draw conclusion from a population based on sample data. That means from your sample data, you draw a conclusion about a population. That is done by hypothesis testing. Okay, now what are the steps? First, you have to state the hypothesis. You have to clearly define two hypotheses, null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis means there is no effect, no change, no difference. Alternative means there is a significant difference. Okay, see this example, drug effectiveness. There is a new drug and you want to know whether this new drug improve recovery time for patients or not. Okay, so what is null hypothesis here? Null hypothesis is drug has no effect, no change, no significant difference, right? Alternative hypothesis is the drug reduces recovery time. There is a significant difference. Okay, so this is your question, whether the new drug improves recovery time or not. Defined what is null hypothesis and what is alternative hypothesis. Once this is done, second step is setting the significance level. Significance level denoted by alpha, it means that this is a cutoff you choose to decide if your result is strong enough to trust or not. Okay, that means it is a chance you might wrongly say something is happening when nothing has changed. This is the risk. See, 0.05, that means 5% risk of being wrong. Okay, 0.01, that means 1% risk. That means you don't want to take risk too much. So you are becoming too strict. Okay, 0.10 means 10% risk. 10% risk means you are becoming quite lenient. Okay, so you understand, it's on you what you set your significance level. Generally these are set. Okay, now once this is done, now you have to choose which test you will apply. Okay, there are different types of test. If your data is categorical, you have to choose chi-square. If you compare the means, then you have to go for ANOVA. If your population standard deviation is known and sample size is greater than 30, you will go for G-test. If population standard deviation is not known and sample size is less than 30, then you will go for T-test. Okay, so depending on your sample size, sample type, you decide which will be your appropriate test. Once that is done, then you calculate and you find the critical value or p-value. Okay, from the table you have to calculate. For one tail test it will be 1 minus area, for two tail 2 into 1 minus. Okay, now once these are all done, then you check if your p-value is less than alpha or greater than alpha. Alpha is significance level. See this one, this is the risk you are taking. Okay, so after calculating the p-value, you will compare with this. If this is less than, then you have to say that the result is statistically significant. That means you reject the null hypothesis. So you will say that the drug has reduced recovery time. Okay, but if p-value is greater than alpha, then you will say there is no strong evidence against H0. So I cannot say whether the drug has improved or not. So we do not reject the null hypothesis. Okay, we always say we do not reject. We never say that we accept the alternative hypothesis. No, we want to say that we don't have that much of result that we say the null hypothesis is wrong. Okay, so we fail to reject. Fine. So this is all about hypothesis testing. Now let's do the questions. So what is the primary purpose of hypothesis testing? To make inferences about a population based on sample data. Okay. So from the sample data you are just trying to make some inferences about the population. You have taken some samples of the new drugs applied on patients, and from here you want to check whether the drug has reduced recovery time or not. Fine. Now what is the first step? First step is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? Null hypothesis means no effect, no difference. What is alternative hypothesis? That means same as no. What we test for evidence exactly. Okay. After defining the hypothesis, what is the next step? After defining, choose the level of significance. Second step. Okay. Now what do you obtain after, what do you do after setting the significance level in hypothesis testing? So what is the third step? You have to choose the appropriate test. So select the appropriate test and compute the test statistic. What is done after that? After that, see, statistic is not done, then you calculate the p-value. So what is the option here? Compare p-value or test statistic to critical value. Okay. What is the final step? The final step is making any conclusion based on the test result. Now, see which one is the correct sequence. From hypothesis, analyze data, set alpha. No, analyze data will not come in between. From hypothesis, set alpha, compute statistic, decision, conclusion. Exactly. Compute test, no. First you have to do the hypothesis. Collect data is fine, but make decision, no. Okay. What does it mean if we fail to reject null hypothesis? We fail to reject means we don't have enough evidence, right? So there is insufficient evidence to support the alternative. We don't have evidence that we support the alternative. Now, which is a type 1 error? Two types of error happens. One is type 1 error, another is type 2 error. So in type 1 error means that rejecting true null hypothesis. That means that we wrongly rejected true null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is true. Okay, that means in reality the drug has no effect. But we are taking a decision that the drug has effect. So we are considering that the alternative hypothesis is true. So that's an error. This type of error is called type 1 error. Okay, when your null hypothesis is true but you are wrongly rejecting that. What is type 2 error? Exactly opposite. Failing to reject a false null hypothesis. When the null hypothesis is false but we have failed to reject it. We have said that there is no strong evidence against null hypothesis. That is also an error because actually the alternative hypothesis is true, but we are considering that the null hypothesis is true because we don't have enough evidence. So that is also an error, and that error is considered as type 2 error. Okay. The next question is, what is the significance level alpha typically set at? 0.01, 0.05, 0.10, all of the above. Okay. Now if p-value is less than alpha, then see, you reject null hypothesis. Reject the null hypothesis. Okay. Now what is the p-value represent? P-value means how likely it is that the results you are seeing happened just by chance. So the probability of obtaining the observed result under null hypothesis. Okay, so we have done the basic questions from hypothesis testing. Let's meet in our next class. Till then, bye. Happy learning.